and welcome back to another Coffee with Laura. Thank you as always for joining me. Today is a really interesting topic and one that I didn't really consider until recently, but I'm not gonna lie, I've seen it transform my daily experiences and a lot of my clients' experience, so I'm excited to share with you. And it's about emotional agility. Laura, what the hell is emotional agility? Great question. Emotional agility refers to our ability to maneuver and shift between different emotions and even how we categorize different emotions. Now, you might be thinking like, okay, I've been having these emotions my entire life. Like, why does this matter? Because our emotional depth is very much tied to the emotional depth that was of the person or people who taught it to us. So whoever raised you, the people you were around when you were growing up. And what a lot of science has shown is that our emotional agility and granularity, speaking to the different depths of adjectives that we use to describe different emotions, is very limited. And in doing so, we really trap ourselves and make our experience a lot harder. So I'll give you a couple examples. So a couple weeks ago, I was bothered. Something didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and I was just bothered. No big reason other than that, but I didn't know what to do with bothered. I was like, okay, I'm bothered. Great. And it was just like this energy was sticking around me, and I was with my husband. He was very understanding, but he could tell that I wasn't like 100% happy. And I was trying to be present, but there was just this low level of bother. And finally, when we got home, I looked at my nifty feeling wheel that I keep handy, like literally all day, every day, and I have it saved in my favorites because I have found that it makes that much of a difference. So what I did is I went to my feeling wheel and I looked through the different words. So kind of like when you get into a car and you're not really sure what music you want to listen to, you try country, that's not it. You put on some hip hop, you're like, oh, that's not really what I'm feeling. And then you put on a podcast, you're like, yes, that's what I was looking for. It kind of feels the same with the emotional feeling wheel. So I was looking through it and I was like, is this sad? No, this isn't sad. Is this guilty? No, this isn't guilt. And then I landed on displeased and I was like, displeased. And it really like hit kind of like it does when the music in the car, like it hits your spot. And I was like, this is displeased. Yeah. And within that moment that I like took to that adjective, accurately named what I was experiencing, that low level of energy that I had been holding, not necessarily consciously holding, but just my body and my brain didn't really know what to do with it, it dissipated. Because what I was able to understand by naming it accurately is, okay, something didn't go the way I wanted it to. I'm not thrilled about it, but that's life. And ultimately, me resisting that is creating this bother. And just like that, my day shifted and I felt much better. So when you can more accurately name the emotion that you're experiencing, it makes it easier for you to move through it. Let's be real. None of us like uncomfortable emotions, myself included. But we also can't get through life without them and we can't avoid them. They're just kind of always going to be there, which isn't a bad thing. But step one is helping ourselves deal with it a little bit better. And that starts with the granularity, the ability to accurately name. So how I encourage all my clients to start with this is save the feeling wheel, of course, in your favorites, so you have it with you at all times. But then when you notice you're feeling something, and you might name it happy, sad, good, bad, mad, those are typically the standard adjectives. Go to your feeling wheel and look through it and see if there's one that actually hits better. So maybe you look at displeased and lonely. It's like, well, how do I know this is more displeased versus lonely? And actually get yourself to articulate it for yourself so you can understand what you're experiencing and create distance between some of these very similar words. Because that's just piece one of it. So save the feeling wheel in your favorites. If you want it, just DM me and I'm happy to send you a copy of one. But why does it matter? If I said that Well, actually, let me have you do it this way. I want you to think of a time when you were angry. Okay? Think about it. Get it in your head. Remember the energy. Don't get angry now. That defeats the whole purpose of this, but like remember the experience. Then I want you to think of a time when you were agitated. Okay? Similar energy, but agitated. So load that up. Now, between the two memories, I want you to think about the anger you felt and the agitation you felt. Which felt bigger to you? Likely the anger. And that's how it should be, because agitated is kind of like a sister or child of anger, like the core emotions, like anger, sadness, fear, love, etc. Agitation is 3 levels out. So that means energetically, it doesn't hold as much of a capacity within us. But when we're agitated and we name something anger, we're amplifying the experience in our own body. Now, just to give you a little bit of science, because I know this sounds like little woo-hoo, we've all experienced moments of excitement. We've all likely experienced moments of anxiety. I think we can all agree that they're very different experiences. But what's interesting is physiologically, neurobiologically, in our brain and our body, they're the exact same. Like the signals and like what scientists can read through scans, exact same. You know what's different? How we label it. So when we actually label agitation as agitation instead of anger, displeasure as displeasure instead of bother, excitement as excitement instead of anxiety, or get ready for this one, stress. Maybe you're just frustrated. Maybe you're annoyed. Maybe you're agitated. Maybe you feel unorganized. Are all of those things stress? Because typically when I ask people to tell me how they're feeling stressed, they typically say, I have a lot to manage, that there's not a lot of time, and they feel a little unorganized. And I'm like, okay, so name those in the moment, and it dissipates the experience that's so unpleasant to us. Whoa, I know. Don't blow your head off yet. But that's just 2 pieces of it. Now, this third piece is a little bit harder, and this speaks to the actual agility. Our brain loves safety, understandably so. We like to survive and be alive. I'm all about that as well. However, we're not actually threatened as much as we think we're threatened. We might feel psychological threat, but that's not really true threat. Now, is it? I know it's not, so that's a rhetorical question. The problem is we don't know how we're experiencing certain things that our brain is going through. So, for example, if you feel uncomfortable, that likely just means that you're experiencing something newer. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's newer or unfamiliar. So take some of those negative emotions that you typically try to push down or distract yourself from. Those are uncomfortable. Well, you don't actually let yourself experience them. They kind of like subconsciously experience them themselves because you won't consciously experience them. So that's not actually even the same thing. But that's just an example. So let's say you're at work and a coworker gives a good suggestion about your project, but your brain perceives that as threat to your safety, your identity, how you're going to be seen. You might stick those feet in the sand, and that has to be the direction forward, even if it's not the best direction. Why? We're all on the same team, moving in the same direction, but God forbid someone else has a good idea or has an idea that could threaten our idea. There's more than one good idea in general, and quite frankly, it's a little illogical for us to assume that us alone could have the best idea always, only, and forever. So being emotionally agile allows you to be in that moment, recognize like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like how this is feeling. They're kind of going after my thing a little bit. And being like, okay, name what I'm feeling. I'm feeling uncomfortable and threatened. But hold on. Am I missing something? Listen. Hear what their idea is. Ask questions. Understand. And for all you know, you might come up with an even better idea than that person by throwing the ball around a little bit. but you can't unless you throw the ball around sometimes. Being emotionally agile allows you to shift your emotional experience to not lock up in your rightness, but being able to be human, learn, grow, connect. And honestly, my favorite of them all is listen. My dad is an epic human. If you ever get the chance to meet him, or if you know him, you know I'm right. And one of the things I love most about my dad is his ability to listen. There have been moments where my brother and I have been in disagreement, and he's told me, you were too harsh. And I respect my father, so I would show him the text messages to try and understand, okay, what was too harsh? And he was able to read them and tell me, never mind, I take that back. I think your brother maybe amplified what he was saying a little bit because if he was hurt, which every human does. I'm not crapping on my brother. I've done it too. But my point being, my dad can shift who he's supporting or what he's believing or what he's thinking by listening. And that is emotional agility. And that is what makes our life experience so diverse and truly helps you connect with people on a much deeper level, which is one of the major, most important things for health in general, connection. So emotional agility and granularity, summed up, is being able to recognize your feeling and emotion and not lock up, but be curious. Identify a more accurate emotion instead of just putting them under these big labels that just amplify your experience of them, which makes it harder for you to deal with them. When you can more accurately label them, you're taking 1,000 pounds off your shoulders. Be in the moment when you're noticing you're feeling threatened and consider, okay, what could I learn? Is this the right thing? Listen, be curious, challenge the different emotions that are coming up for you and see what you can learn by being in that moment. Some of this might seem pretty silly to you. You've learned emotions. You don't really feel like they do that much to you on a day-to-day basis. But here's the last thing I'm going to say. Our amygdala is this cute little organ back in our brain. Without it, we can't make decisions. There are literally people who have damaged amygdalas and they cannot make decisions. And if you've listened to Coffee with Laura before, you've heard me say behind every decision is a subconscious emotional motivator. Thank you, amygdala, because that is what it does. It is the emotional center of the brain that drives us, that motivates us. So you can say you aren't having emotions, but you are. And the fact that you might not recognize that means you're probably either too stressed or completely disconnected and dissociated from yourself. It's not a good thing. It's actually a bad thing. Your emotions are there to help you. If you can connect with them, identify them, and use them, you become the superhero. I know. But that is all I have for you today. I have some exciting things coming up, so make sure you have your alerts on because we've got some big things dropping this week. And for those who don't know, I am running a special Eventbrite called Reprogram Your Mind, where we talk a little bit about this and how to work through a lot of your limiting beliefs in July. So just click the link in my bio. I will copy it below as well. And I hope to see you there because our mind drives everything. We got to take care of it. But have a wonderful week, and I will see you guys next week.